friends, welcome to my channel. Today I am making a gift for a friend and it's going to look exactly like the one that I made for myself. It is the end of May and Lily of the Valley is the flower for the month of May, and it's my flower, and I absolutely love the Lily of the Valley flower just on its own, and I wanted to create a bracelet so that I can see it. I like to put things that I really like on my wrist or down low on a necklace so that I can see it, and my bracelet has a magnetic clasp and it has a little J here, and I'm going to do one for my friend. I have a small gold L for Lorena. That's my friend. She knows that I was making these for us, so she does watch my videos, and I'm not ruining a surprise because I already told her about it. And the chain that I'm using here is available on two websites that I shop on. DD Beads recently started stocking this chain even in different colors, and also Purity Beads, so I'll put links for that if you like this chain. But you could really do the design on any base that you wanted. The trick with this chain is that the links on the base are extremely small, and each of the links has two of these ever so tiny ball head pins wire wrapped onto an 11-0 seed bead. So it gives you this really cool vine, or I don't even know, but I bought mine at a bead show at the booth of Purity Beads, and I just love it for certain things, and I just thought it was the perfect base to create my Lily of the Valley clusters. So the bracelet is going to have 3 clusters on it, and I've already done one end because in order to pretty much get anything through the link on this chain, you have to cut away some of the wire wrapped embellishments because they really eat up the space inside an already quite tiny link. So I am putting these magnetic clasps on. These are so cool. Let me I can actually take my bracelet off and lay it here. These are magnetic clasps that have a little groove inside, so they're great for bracelets because when you fit it together in the little groove, you can it turns this way so you can get it lined up, but when you pull that way, it doesn't, the magnets don't release because of the groove in the clasp. So it's really great for a bracelet, and they look like a little gold coin. So I really like them, and I think it does kind of give the look of fine jewelry. So I'm going to be doing the same exact thing for my friend, and this is a little bit of production work. And the way that I worked this out is to have a little fine piece of wire or an extra one of my very fine gauge. These are extremely fine gauge ball head pins, and they work great for this because this chain is so small. And because of the nature of this chain, I found that eyeballing this is the best thing. It's nearly impossible to get like a normal measurement. So what I did on mine is I found the center or thereabouts, and that's where I placed my first cluster, and then I eyeballed the next one and the next one the same way. So I'm going to come right about here and just kind of pick up that link. It's a challenging little chain to work with because your wires and things want to go through the tiny loops on those. I mean, I don't even know if you can see how they are, but so I'm just going to do that and then come in with my cutters and go ahead and remove the you know, the little embellishment, the little drops. There's 2 on each one. Let me find the other one. I had to like really take my time. It's right there. Because what I found is, I didn't even finish my explanation. What I found is that I normally like to make my jump rings out of 20 gauge wire, but 20 gauge wire would not go through these links even with 2 of the embellishments removed. So I had to go down to 22 gauge wire for the jump rings that I made. So I made a whole bunch of 3mm jump rings out of 20 gauge wire, and I'll show you how I worked out my connecting on this, on the clusters. I just want to remove that little piece of wire there. I got it. So I did have to make my jump rings, and I'm going to just leave that marker in there, and I'm going to set this up as a production. In fact, I can put this out of the way over here. I only have one end of my clasp attached as well, and these are the little gold-plated jump rings. These are, I think, 18 karat gold-plated magnetic coin clasps, and they came with jump rings and another lobster claw clasp and a little open end, so you actually get 2 clasps for your money in that assortment. So I'm going to attach the other end right here when I get to that, but it's just really a matter of slipping that. Same thing on the end. You have to remove a couple of the little embellishments. I don't even know what to call these, but it can be even challenging to even find the last loop. Like, I just found it, and I'm going to need to remove this, because if you don't, you really, even the 22 gauge wire is not happy to be in that link. And I had to enlist the help of my pliers to like really make this little modification. And I have these tiny seed beads all over my mat. But so that's ready to go for the clasp. But I just didn't do this in because I really wanted to show you that if you like the looks of this chain and you want to work with it, those are like the tips and tricks of making it fairly easy to get your jump ring in there. I don't want to lose my marker here, but I can go ahead and put the clasp on now that I have a hold of it. And that's just another tip for working with a chain like this, is once you have your spot, don't let go of it, because it's really hard to find it again. But I'm going to go ahead and get my fingers out of the way. And of course, it's a magnetic clasp, so it wants to grab my pliers. I just get in there and close that really well. And so the clasp is on. And this is really basic jewelry. This whole project is basic jewelry skills. I'm doing a couple of things different. If you've watched my other videos, I am doing a couple of things differently. I am wire wrapping all of the cluster bits. And I'm going to show you, I normally wire wrap just like really neat and perfect. So let me take one of my large components here. It is an 8mm pearl and a check glass bellflower in this beautiful opaque color. And I'm going to show you the way that I normally do a wire wrapped loop. I normally grab my wire right at the top of the bead, give it a 90-degree bend, and then this space here on my pliers, when I take that away, that's the space that will get my wraps. And so I normally would put my pliers in wherever I want the loop, about a medium-sized loop, bring the wire over the top barrel of the plier, rotate it out of the way, and then bring it around to this side, and then roll my wrist back and get that loop perfectly lined up, and then take these pliers away, get a hold of the loop with my bent chain nose pliers, and then I would normally wrap one wrap right perfectly beneath the previous one, and get, all the way down, just wrap all the way down to my bead, whatever it is. And like a really neat, so that is my normal way to do a wire wrapped loop. But for this project, I needed to do, I think it was about 18 components or dangles that are all wire wrapped loops. And you're never going to see the loops again because they're going in a cluster. And my ball head pins are so fine. They are so very fine that it is a little bit of a pain to do it that way. So let me show you what I ended up doing on all of my bits that are going into the bracelet. I'm going to make a production here of all the pieces that I need. Just go ahead and set them up. I got my head pins out here. Let me set this aside so I can lay these here. I got my head pins out here, and I'm just going to create the stack. So all of the bellflowers get a cream colored pearl in the middle, and I'm just going to set myself up exactly. I'm going to copy my layout exactly for my friend's bracelet. Okay, so each of my cluster sections have 2 of the bellflowers. And again, I was really trying to mimic the Lily of the Valley the way the flower actually grows. It's kind of a metaphor because, you know, it's in beads and not actual flowers. And then let's see, I did one of the green pearls with a little tiny flower on top of that, for one for each section. Each section got a green leaf with the ball head pin going toward the pointy side, and then each section had a little flower drop, just a little bell at the end. Okay, so now that my production is set up, I am ready to go to work wrapping. And so I'm going to show you what I ended up doing. Just a rustic bend in each piece, coming in with my round nose pliers and just keeping the plier on, and I'm doing messy wraps on every piece, just a couple like that, and snipping and tucking. So I'm not going through all of the steps that I normally do on my wire wrapped loops. It's just not necessary for this project. So I'm just going to do a little bend, get my pliers in there, and while it's still on the round nose plier, just do a couple of wraps. It's getting my loops nice and getting my pieces nice and tight. So you see, it's like really stabilizing my flowers. And for such fine, they're messy, but they're not, you know, they're messy, but they're good. They're neat, if that makes sense, messy and neat at the same time. So that's what I'm doing on this project to make the clusters go a little bit faster and make the project a little bit more fun, is not to overthink it and not to make it labor intensive, even though I have to make clusters. So I'm going to make all of my clusters and get them ready and have them in sections and get them ready for the stringing. It will just be a second for you, and I'll get them all done and come back and show you the tips and tricks for attaching on this very fine, very busy little chain. Okay, this is my last one, and you know, I'm sharing this because I am a perfectionist with my jewelry, and I take my time, I go slow, I make sure that everything is just right, but you can still do that and kind of speed up a little bit. So if you have a lot of things to make for a craft fair, or if you need to create product for a website, this little technique, because the loops still look really good, everything looks good, but it's just a kind of a messy wrap. You know, it's just not the way that I normally do when I'm working with like 20 gauge wire, because everything is so fine here you wouldn't see it anyway. And so I just thought I would share that. I got through all of my components in less than 10 minutes doing it that way. Okay, so I'm going to come to the mark that I made. I'll start with my middle component and one of these 3mm jump rings that I made out of 22 gauge wire, and I'm going to get this open and get this in in the spot on the bracelet, on the chain. So like I said, before you take your marker away, get your thumb in there, whatever you need to do so that you can see, because if you lose your spot on this chain, it is really challenging to find it again. I'm just gonna wiggle my jump ring in there. It is challenging, even with removing a couple of the decorations, the little wraps. It is a challenging chain to get your connecting done, and I'm trying to stay under the camera. I love this chain and I think it's totally worth it. So I've got it in, and then my first thing that I'm going to do is feed on my 2 larger flowers and my leaf, and just get in there, hold on to everything, get in there and close it really well. So my first little section is on, and honestly, I could be done right there. I mean, that is so pretty just by itself, but I'm going to do a couple more, add in these things, and I actually used the jump rings as a chain. So I wanted to hang these a little bit lower because, again, I'm trying to copy sort of the way a lily of the valley flower grows, and when it blooms, it has the buds that have opened, they're bigger, and as it works down the stem of the flower, you get little smaller buds and some that aren't quite open, and I was trying to replicate that look. So I do want to go ahead and open this jump ring, and I'm talking and not paying attention to what I'm doing, and put my tiniest bud on the bottom of this jump ring and close it really well. And then, whoops, everything is so tiny, you guys. It's like, this is like really dainty work. And then I'm going to open another one and add it to that jump ring. So like I said, kind of making a chain. And then I'm going to add the next size bud. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to let that be my link in between. Close it really well. And then I'm going to add my bud to this top one. So I'm just creating like a little chain. So the bud like hangs, the bud that's not open yet hangs below the one that's supposed to mimic being partially open. And then I'm going to close this, and I'm going to make another spot on my chain and do the same thing, but this time I'm going to skip the one that is right next to where I connected, and I'm going to come to the next one, which is right here, and remove a couple of the tiny, it's such a cool effect with this chain when everything is, you know, when you look at how cool this is engineered, but when you need to connect, it's a little bit of a pain. I'm probably going to remove 3 just to make sure that I can get in there. Find one more. Let's see. It's that one right there. When you're doing work like this, just take a breath. Okay. Let me come with my jump ring is not open enough. I can already tell that it's not. So put my marker in on the spot where I cleared a spot, and I want to make sure this is open wide enough so that I don't struggle any more than necessary. And I'll come back to that little spot that I cleared. Kind of move everything out of the way. Okay, now I'm going to attach my my middle chain to that. So I just made like a little jump ring chain. Let me close it and then I'll show you why I did that. So now on my cluster, get my fingers out of the way, it hangs a little bit, turn it this way, it hangs a little bit like the way the buds do. So I like it. I like the effect of everything not being bunched up right at the base of the bracelet. So a little jump ring chain, really, you know, just really, it's already so pretty. So I am going to do that again 2 more times, one on either side of this. I'm just going to lay this out, and I have my two sections all ready to go. And I'm going to just choose a spot. This is where I said it's like nearly impossible to measure this. I'm going to just choose a spot about in the middle here with my, I just saved out, you can use a piece of 22 gauge wire or one of the fine ball head pins. If I can get in there, pick it up, there we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just remove a couple of these embellishments just to get ready for my next cluster. So once you have your wraps done, this is just mostly an attaching, you know, a connecting project. It's really fun. It's really not very, I mean, I don't find this tedious, and it really didn't take me very long to do my first bracelet. And you could really adjust the way that you connect. This is what I came up with, and I'm just sharing it because, I mean, it worked out okay. But, you know, you could really adjust this. And also doing it this way, I really only had to deal with connecting to the base chain just a few times, and the rest was just jump rings. So that is ready, and I'm going to do the exact same thing 2 more times. Just get my jump rings out here and do this section. Same thing, just add on my flowers and my leaf and get in there as best I can and close it. Okay, just a few minutes of connecting, and I'm going to add this little L for my friend to have her initial on her bracelet, and I'm going to add it. If you have never seen my little trick, and it is a little tricky on this particular chain, but open your jump ring wide enough that it can go around the entire circumference of your chain. So I'm not going to hook it through this jump ring. It's not wrong, and you could do that, but since this is an initial and it's a magnetic clasp, I'm going to do my best to get around the whole circumference of the chain. I have to set it down to keep it in place, and then I'm going to close it really well, and I'll show you why I did that. I'll show you what purpose it serves. So when you have a charm that you connect like that around the circumference, it goes around the chain 360 degrees. And like I said, this chain is a bit challenging because of all the cha-cha stuff on it, but that way, whether my friend picks her bracelet up this way or if she goes this way, her initial is always going to flow around her wrist and, you know, land so that she can see it properly. The L and the J are kind of strange letters for initials. You know, they don't look like much. They're very straight. There's not a lot of scrolls or loops in them. So I have the same situation when I want to personalize a piece of my jewelry. The J's don't always look like a J. The L is the same way. It's such a simple letter, but I think she'll get the sweet gesture. I do have tiny little seed beads and tiny bits of wire all over my mat from this project, but this was really fun. I really wanted to create just kind of a little metaphorical flowering vine with the not mother of pearl, the lily of the valley flower on it. So I hope this gave you some inspiration if you have somebody that loves the May flower and would like a little piece of jewelry. You could really adapt this for earrings or even a necklace as well. But I really love my bracelets. I'm the queen of bracelets, as one of our viewers, one of our community members mentioned. I'm the queen of bracelets, and I think I really am. But I am going to put this in a little organza gift bag, and it is ready for when I see my friend next time. I always make her lunch when we get together. She likes my cooking, and I'll have a little gift for her. So I thank you so much for watching. I'll put some really close pictures up at the end of the video, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, friends.